What's going on, guys? It's your boy Chef Drew, aka Chef, aka Big Drew, aka call me anything but Andy. This week we're going to be talking to y'all about a book. I really wanted to try and bring you guys an interview this week, but my eye decided to curse me out this week. I got some medical issues going on and I wasn't able to pull that together. However, they say leaders are readers. And so when I thought about that this week, I was like, you know what? There's a lot of books and there's a lot of resources out there that can really bless my audience. So this week, I'm going to introduce you guys to one of my favorite books, and hopefully it can be a resource and a tool for you. Before we get into that, please, please, please make sure you like and subscribe so we can continue to bring you this content. Let's go. All right, guys, so here we are. We're going to talk about one of my favorite books on entrepreneurship this week. This book, it means a lot to me. One of my cheerleaders, my sister, one of the previous videos I told you guys about having those people in your corner who root you on. My sister, one of my biggest cheerleaders, she got me this book a couple years ago. It was funny because when she gave me the book, I wasn't really, she and I were kind of arguing a little bit, so I was kind of not in a really good place with her. But then she gave me this book and I started reading it and I'm like, oh, she loves me. So now I get to share it with you guys. The name of the book is How I Built This by Guy Raz. He also has a very successful podcast. This book, guys, I'm telling you right now, I feel like if you're an entrepreneur, if you're thinking of being an entrepreneur, if you just like stories, you need to go ahead and grab this book. It is an invaluable resource, if not just for the information in it, just the testimonies and the stories of people and their lives is absolutely amazing. There's so much stuff in this book. There is so much stuff in this book that there's no way in a few minutes I can give you everything. So I decided I'm going to touch on 3 areas. I'm going to do a little bit of reading to you. I have the little bookmarks here, so bear with me as I'm fumbling around trying to get y'all the information. But I'm going to do a little bit of reading for you and give you a few excerpts. I don't want to give you everything. I'm not getting paid for this endorsement, but I do feel like my responsibility is to help educate and excite you and empower you. In doing that, I say, go get this book or get it for the entrepreneur or the person in your life who you feel like could benefit from it. So the 3 areas that I want to talk about that Gwen and I and my team are always thinking about in regards to building our business. Our people, meaning our customers and our team, you've heard me talk about that before. Money, because this stuff ain't free. It costs money to build a business. And growing the business, scaling the business, and exiting at some point. So let's just get into it, guys. In regards to money, in the entrepreneurial world, in the grassroots world, it can also be referred to as bootstrapping. This is what Guy says about bootstrapping. Bootstrapping is what you do if you don't have a Rolodex of billionaires to flip through and ask for money. If it's your first company and you're going at it alone, just you and your partners, more specifically, bootstrapping is using what you have at your disposal to get yourself where you want to be. Typically, when we talk about bootstrapping, it's a financial conversation. And to an extent, that will always be true. Without other people's money to stand up your business, whether it's from friends and family, venture capital, or something like an SBA loan, you have to find other ways to pay for things like credit cards, personal savings, cycling profits back into the business. But having spoken to hundreds and hundreds of brilliant entrepreneurs, I know that bootstrapping is more than simply using alternative sources of personal financing as a last resort. It's also about keeping control of your business as long as you can. It's about using your monetary assets to solve problems that you would otherwise hire someone else to solve or throw money at. Assets like your time, your effort, your network, and your own talent and ingenuity. That's what bootstrapping is. And y'all, let me tell you something. That's my life right now. And that's the life of many, many entrepreneurs who are trying to do their own thing, who are trying to grow a business. In this book, mentions Stacey Brown. Stacey Brown, for those of you who do not know her, she is the founder of Chicken Salad Chick, a brand that I'm sure most of you have heard of, or if you Google, you will hear about it. It'll come right on up. It's a huge, huge company. What I love about Stacey Brown's story is Stacey Brown, I don't know if she planned on becoming an entrepreneur. She was almost thrusted into it. You know, life circumstances, she got divorced, her husband left her, and she had kids at home and she had to feed them. And so she took the resources she had, bootstrapping, which was chicken salad, and literally started selling her chicken salad door to door to family and friends and anyone who would buy it in Auburn, Alabama. And from that, after a few years of hard work, Chicken Salad Chick was born and is now, I think, $100 million+ company. In his book, he also says of Stacey Brown, after 4 years of bootstrapping their way to sustainability, they realize it's time to find someone who can help them pivot to a franchise model where they'll have a shot at turning a real profit and taking some cash out the business. Y'all, let me tell you, when you start a business, most times for the first few years as a founder, a CEO, you're not really making no money. And so the goal, just like Guy says in this book, is to get to a point, as the founder, you can take money out of the business. I say all that to say, bootstrapping, however important it is in the beginning to get your business off the ground, it only goes so far. There will always come a point where more money is needed to really pivot the business, grow it to something that can be sustainable. After the money part, after the how are we gonna make this happen, the next part of that Gwen and I always think of, that my team always is thinking about, is our team, our people. How can we create awesome experiences for not just our customers, but the people who work for us as well? Guy references Warby Parker, an eyeglass company, and its founders. And there was a time when Warby Parker first started, they were able to get into a couple magazine articles. I don't want to give too much away. They were able to get into a couple magazine articles, and guys, their business took off. The problem with that was Warby Parker is an online retailer of eyeglasses. Once these publications went out, they were major magazines. Warby Parker was not prepared influx of business that came in. Hear what Guy says about it. When the online eyewear retailer Warby Parker launched in 2010, they were not excited about their wait list because it was the result of being utterly unprepared for the onslaught of orders they received. Thanks to the attention they got from 2 magazine features, one in GQ and one in Vogue, that ran prior to their going live date, they ended up having to put 20,000 potential customers onto a wait list that took them upward of 9 months to clear. Y'all, I could not imagine. You think you're doing a great thing, you get in these awesome magazines, and next thing you know, overnight, you got 20,000 people waiting for your product, and you are not in a place to satisfy that need. It could have been a disaster for the young company, absolutely. You don't get too many second chances in entrepreneurship, especially if you're an online business. But even more than that, co-founder Neil Blumenthal said they wanted to create a business that had a positive impact on the world, and part of that is treating customers fairly. So the founders reached out to every single person on the wait list who was disappointed or was having a bad experience. Y'all, that's just impressive to me. 20,000 people, and you make it your duty to reach out to each and every customer. That's taking care of your customers. That's taking care of your brand. Kind founders don't just make every customer feel valued. They make every employee feel valued as well. This is about the team. They do things that make their employees feel like a part of a family. They make it a point to give their employees something to call their own in recognition of this larger journey they are on together as a business, as a unit. Y'all, it was so encouraging to me reading that again. When I think about my business and I think about where I want my business to go and the values and the culture that I want to establish for my business, my people, my customers, and my team are always very high on the priority list. Top 3, always. For me, top 1, taking care of my team and my customers. it was very, very encouraging to me even, and I'm a few years into this, to see or hear of another brand, a big brand, that shares the same sentiment, shares the same conviction. Warby Parker, kudos to you for really stepping up and going, not just going after it for your customers who are spending their money with you, but for your team who is working for you to satisfy those customers. So we've talked about the money, the bootstrapping. We've talked about the importance and the value in team and customers and creating a brand that honors all of that. And the last thing that I want to touch on for this video, the last thing I want to talk about is growing the business, scaling the business. A lot of people, when they start their jobs, y'all, or start their businesses, they do it from the standpoint of just creating something, selling a product, selling a service, and they never think about, okay, what happens once this business is established? What happens to me once this business is established? If you don't consider scalability and you don't consider removing yourself from the business in such a way that the business can operate without you, you're not building something that's sustainable or scalable. And ultimately, you're just buying yourself a job. Let's see what Guy says. His book says, entrepreneurs face a choice at every step between making money and managing their venture. Wasserman wrote, this fundamental tension yields rich versus king trade-off. The rich options enable the company to become more valuable, but may sideline the founder by taking away the CEO position and control over major decisions. The king choices allow the founder to retain control of decision-making by staying CEO and maintaining control over the board, but often only by building a less valuable company. Neither choice is by definition better than the other. It all depends on what the founder's goals were when they started their company and where those goals have evolved in light of their success. Except I don't think money and control are your only choices when you are wrangling with a growing and successful business. I don't believe they are only two major forces that motivate an entrepreneur's decision making either. I think there's a third, a consideration that tends to play a lesser role during the fundraising part of growth, but is especially active once a founder has grown their business beyond what they ever imagined possible and the opportunity to sell presents itself. I'm talking about happiness, contentment, making a decision that feels right. Listen, I am in no way shaming anybody. There are people out there who have no problem building the business around themselves. And if that's what you want, that is fine with me. Do that, live your best life. But what I will say is, if you're the entrepreneur who is generally interested in creating financial freedom, in creating experiences and opportunities for your team and your customers, if you really want to consider what makes you happy and if you really want to go after freedom, then my suggestion to you and my plan for myself and for my business is to build a business from the beginning where the end goal is to ultimately remove yourself or myself from the day-to-day operations of the business so that we can focus on being entrepreneurs and growing and scaling the business versus working the business. In this book, Reid Hoffman says, starting a company is like throwing yourself off the cliff and assembling an airplane on the way down. Y'all envision that. Throwing yourself off a cliff and trying to build the plane before you hit the ground. That's intense. But he's right. Starting these businesses, being an entrepreneur, it's not easy work, it's hard work. And that's why we are here at the Eating Chambers, always trying to educate you, excite you, and empower you with this knowledge, with this content. Y'all, we are so glad that you're tuning in right now to hear a little bit of what we have to say. I hope it blesses you in your life and your business. If you have not gone and got it already, go get this book, guys. It is an invaluable resource. I love about his approach that Guy uses other people's testimonies to certify business principles for people. How I Built This, Guy Raz. Y'all, this is Drew, Chef Drew, aka Anything But Andy. Remember, please, to like, subscribe, do all the things, and we'll see you next time.